I'm so excited today to be with this man who introduced me to this experience out of this world, but within myself. And it was so beautiful. And I want to share with everybody what I felt. And because I want them to feel the same thing. And I want to start introducing Frasser. Hi, how are you?
Hi, thank you. I'm really well, thank you. I'm excited to do this another day.
Yes, I know. We've been talking outside air, and it's just amazing what this space do for people. We're talking about the harmonic egg. Mm-hmm. That's the name of this space that takes you to another level. That's what I will describe the experience. It's another level of your energy, of your own being. And I want to talk about it. I want to know everything about it. So let's start with the space. What's this space about?
Yeah, so we call it harmonic egg. It's an egg-like shape. It uses sacred geometry. It's made out of wood. Okay, so we say it's like a living, breathing being in a sense, and it uses sound and light and frequency that connects directly to your own frequency of body to expand, to help it with its cells. And it's an experience not unlike meditation in a way, but it also helps you to calm and relax and many, many other things. And, there's plenty of stories we can talk about, but in essence, it's sound, light, sacred geometry, frequency connecting to your own self.
We are all energy.
Yeah.
We've been told that we're this body and that the things that we do in life, but we are energy.
Sure.
And we don't treat energy like we treat our bodies. Mm-hmm. Because if you're ill, you go to the doctor. If you have some condition, you find exterior things. But everything is within us.
Yeah.
How this space and how this synchronicity with the music and the lights helps you improve your life.
Okay, so what we say, it's really hard to describe. Like having a session in the harmonic egg, it's not something you can describe, it's something that you feel. It's something that you experience whilst you're there. Everybody's different. Everybody has different experiences, but in essence, we are allowing the body to calm down. We are allowing the body to reset. We are allowing the body to revitalize, regenerate, and all the other things. We talk about energy, like tables are energy, the lights are energy, everything around us is energy. And if you block that energy, if you stop or put something in front of that energy, then it slows down. And if we don't look after ourselves, if we don't keep that energy high, if we don't keep that frequency up, like octaves, going up in octaves, we can create dis-ease and distortion. But by working with that energy and allowing it to flow naturally and to actually raise the vibration of the body and the frequency of that person, that's when we start to cut through the stuff that has been blocking us, is holding us back. That's probably a very simple way of saying it.
And what exactly those blocks that we have in our lives?
It can be anything, we live in this crazy, crazy world where it's like, everything's going around, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to do the other. And, there's stimulation from the TV, the phone, how many people now, they go out as a couple to a meal, or the kids, and they've got a phone and they're not interested in each other. It's just like the phone. But one of the beautiful things about this is it allows you to actually almost like take a step back and breathe and actually create space for the things around you. It's not necessary to have all this stimulation. And what happens with the stimulation, that's where we hold the stress. And everybody holds the stress in different ways. Everybody's got stress in one shape or form. And everybody has been, has an incident in their life that they hold on to. So the body holds on to that stress. The body holds on to the memory of something that may have happened. And it could have been something like a lady shouted at you when you were 4. Mm-hmm. Now, you can't remember that consciously, but subconsciously, that's inside you. That is something that later on in life can come up and can start to create that dis-ease. So what we're doing is we're actually pinpointing those areas in the body that may well be compressed and like stressed, and it's just allowing you to open up, almost like a petal, like a flower, lotus flower, and unpeel those layers bit by bit, so that those things that were held up in the past, that were pushed right down unconsciously, can finally be let go, and you allow yourself, because we don't do any work. It's your body knows how to sort itself out. Your body knows how to heal. We just give you the tools or the reminder that actually this is a sacred body and it knows what to do.
Exactly. I think that's a reminder, because it doesn't do anything.
No.
You are the one who's changing, and you are the one who's experiencing this thing with these tools, like you said,
Yeah.
the lining, the area, the space, because that's important,
Yeah.
and the sound of the music. But at the end, it's your body and it's your mind. I felt the experience so healing and so amazed. It was like a wonderful thing for me. I'm going to share a little bit what happened to me, because I have these mental issues, like my monkey mind talking all the time.
Yeah.
And after one session, that stopped. I mean, I still have these thoughts, but they're not like destructive and bad as they were before.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not only my body, my physical body. I felt good. I slept really good. Like it was an improvement in my physical body, but my mind, that was amazing. Frasser, tell us more about what mental conditions is this space willing to heal?
It helps with everything. We always say it's not one size fits all. One of the most important things that when somebody comes in to see us is we have a discussion. We set an intention for that session, okay? And that intention and that discussion that we have allows us to choose music and lights that we have from protocols. So the protocols say these are a selection of music, here's a selection of lights. And from that, we choose that particular music. Now, again, the mentalness, the issues, the unconscious mind chatter, it's all stress, it's all anxiety that has been created throughout our lives. And as I said before, our bodies are in fight or flight, constantly fight or flight, fight or flight. What do I need to do next? I've got to go. No, you've got to slow down. You've got to allow your body to actually breathe, because at that point, you can start to think what you need to do. I can actually feel a pain now. And that you've held on to that for so many years. We told a story before about the man, which we can go into later, but he's couldn't understand how he feels normal when that's not normal to him. So all these different things, it's just allowing the body, allowing the sensation, allowing the stress to disappear in a sense, or at least for a certain amount of time before the monkey mind starts again.
Yes. And let's talk about the intention, because I think that's a really important thing to talk about. Like when I had a session, you asked me what my intention was, and I'm like, the first thing I thought, it was stress.
Yeah.
I had anxiety and stress because of all the things I live on a daily basis. And that's what, like, the first thing that popped out on my mind. But how do you set an intention, and how can you help people to set an intention if they don't know what they want?
Sure. I mean, the intention can be very simple. It doesn't have to be science. It doesn't have to be technical. What is going on in your life right now? Well, I've got a pain in my hip, or, I want to be more creative, or I want to attract some abundance. I want a relationship. It can be any of these things. A lot of people come in. It's not just about pain. It's not just about, I want to do X, Y, Z. It's about, okay, today I'm feeling this. I had a really bad night's sleep. Can you help me with that? So we set the intention of today, you know, like we're going to help improve or, you know, reduce the amount of time that, you know, you can't sleep and allow your body to open to be able to sleep or for that pain to sort of like lessen. Now, but what's really interesting is even when we set the intention, when you sit in the egg in the chamber, you actually get what your body needs, not necessarily what you want. Now, I'll give you an example of, we had a lady who had maybe 4 or 5 sessions, and one day she turned around and she said, "Oh, by the way, my tinnitus has gone." I said, I'm sorry, what tinnitus? She said, "Oh, I had tinnitus when I first came," and she'd never told us.
Okay.
So even though we hadn't actually set an intention, well, let's help with your tinnitus, it disappeared anyway because her body had relaxed, because her body had opened up, her cells had almost like regenerated, and whatever had needed to happen for her, it disappeared. So we don't necessarily have to be specific in that sense. But, you know, like the other thing about, because again with this sacred geometry, this shape, it actually amplifies that intention. So, you know, when you go in there, say, I want to be more creative, I want to have this, I want to do that, I really like to like stop the pain in this side of my body because it's been going on for 5 years. That intention is set. The music and the lights help that. And because you're in this womb-like space and it's amplified, that continues time, you know, after you've actually left.
So I want to talk about the tracks
Yeah.
and the choosing of the light. How do you get into the perfect combination of those? And I'm thinking, and you will say if I'm right or wrong, what happened if you choose the wrong track? Is there a chance to do that or not?
Okay, yes and no. It's a really interesting question. And when we first started, it was like, oh my goodness, what we're going to choose. But like we say, we have protocols. So the protocols recommend certain tracks. Okay, so we know that certain tracks are good for certain things. And as time has gone on, we intuitively know which is the best tracks and which are the best lights. Now, again, that also goes back to my own experience and my own things that I've done before this. But what's amazing for me, and it is like, you know, mind-blowing in a sense, is we've had a couple of sessions over the past 6 months where we've had a conversation with somebody, we've set an intention, and we said, okay, this is the music, these are the lights for that person. And then between them standing up and going to the egg, they've said something else and I've gone, that's the wrong track, and put something, and actually we need to put this one on. That person has then sat in the egg, we've closed the doors, we've tried to put that track on, and it's not playing. And it's like, what's going on? Try again. Check all the connections, everything's fine. We've gone back to the original track that we initially picked. Straight away it's gone on. Now, there's an intelligence, there's something that I can't explain. And that's why we say that this pod, this harmonic egg, this sentient being knows exactly what's right for that person. Okay. So there's no such thing as a wrong track. But if it thinks that that's the wrong track for that person, it won't allow us to play it.
Wow. And what happened? Have you ever seen or experienced yourself something negative with a certain track or the lining or?
Okay. Yeah. No. That's again a brilliant question, and one, you know, let's address the elephant in the room, yes, as they say. When somebody has multiple sessions, what we're doing is we are peeling the onion. Okay, we are removing layers. We are dealing with different things, and there may be a point which we have experienced ourselves. I certainly have very recently, actually, where a track has agitated me. It's aggravated me to such an extent I actually wanted to get out before the music finished. But what's really interesting about that is it means there's a blockage. Mm-hmm. It means that there's something that your body or you as a person, as a human being, needs to work through. So that track isn't actually agitating, it's healing, it's helping to release that block, to actually bring to the surface something that may have been so deep subconsciously that you weren't even aware of it. And what's really interesting, if you listen to that track again a few weeks later, I guarantee you'll enjoy it, because you've actually worked through that blockage, you've actually worked through whatever was holding you back. It's a very bizarre experience, but actually the first time it happened to me, the woman was like, fantastic, I'm so pleased you've got to this. And we were like, well, what do you mean? You know, no, I didn't like it. And she's like, fantastic. And it's like, that's how she explained it to us. We're actually releasing old memories, old blockages that we weren't even aware of. So again, there's no such thing as bad music. Mm-hmm. If it agitates you, it's for a reason. It's for you to work through, to you to understand. And then maybe in another few weeks you play it again.
Maybe it shows something.
Of course.
That it's uncovered.
Of course. But like at that time, it's like, wow, I didn't like that. And, you know, and it's like, fantastic. Like, come here, give me a hug. You know, so.
Because we're not used to being comfortable.
No.
You know, we're always seeking for comfort and like being fine and whatever. And if you're seeking this being well and suddenly you stumble with something that is uncomfortable, there's a resistance there, but it's maybe behind something that needs to be uncovered.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. and that's the thing, you know, I mean, we talked before of sometimes, you know, it takes time for these things to uncover. Like, you know, we always say to people, what we're doing, you know, is men particularly, and women to an extent, is they put yes. You know, I'm not dealing with that now, I'm going to put it down and I'll put it in here, and they put this Band-Aid on. Mm-hmm. What we do is we remove the Band-Aid and we allow those things to maybe trickle out at first, but there's a point where you have to deal with things that you don't want to deal with. But again, that the body knows how to deal with that. The body is an amazing instrument, and it knows how to help you. It knows how to bring these things up. And a lot of people at that stage are already doing other things. They want to release the pain. They want to release the guilt. They want to deal with whatever they need to deal with in order for them to raise the octaves, to raise the frequency, to become this better human being over, you know, a high frequency, a high vibe, and going through life a lot easier without the stress and the strain or the fight or the flight. And that's the beauty of what we do. Yeah.
Who do you recommend these sessions for?
Everybody. Everybody should try it. Doesn't matter whether you believe in it or not believe in it. We've had children. We've had elderly grandparents. We have, you know, like people of all ages.
And animals as well.
Animals. And that's, you know, that again is something that we do. That's a remote session, although little dogs, you know, we can bring in. What's really amazing to me is we did a session for a cat who'd had an operation and, you know, was recovering, and the lady gave us a picture and we put it into the egg, and the cat all the way through the session, and bearing in mind it was somewhere, I don't know where it was, but somewhere local, she said the cat was like padding like the cats do throughout the whole session, and when the session finished it just relaxed and went to sleep. You know, so they don't physically have to be there. The lady that created this has horses, and her horse was kicked, and she, you know, after one session, like 3 days later, the kick had been, you know, had disappeared. She's been working with dolphins with like brain tumours. Okay. You can't put a dolphin in our egg, but you can put a picture in, and it helps because, again, animals are, you know, they're very intelligent, they're very intuitive, and it's all about love, because the intention is about love. It's about giving that love intention to that animal and helping them to heal in whatever way they need.
Tell us about the sessions How do they work, either physically or a distance?
Okay, so physically, so if you come to see us, we always allow an hour and a half, even though the sessions are 50 minutes, because that gives us time to find out who you are, what is your intention, why have you come here, have you been recommended, all that sort of thing, because that is the first point where we say, okay, well, the first session we always do, they call it an autonomic nervous system reset. So we create like a new normal that we can work on from, so like, again, it's increasing the frequency, it's increasing the octaves in your body. So we set the intention, and from that intention, there's the music, and then lights, greens, blues, purples, perhaps for the first time. And then what we do is you come and sit into a chair. So they call it a zero gravity chair. And the chair can recline. So it takes on your whole body weight. Some people sit up straight. Some people sit with their feet up almost to the ceiling. It really depends on that person. And then we, close the doors. We can keep them open as well. So if somebody's like claustrophobic, yeah, we can keep the doors open. But what's really interesting about that is even people who are spatially challenged, shall we say, when they get inside, it's like a small car. So it's actually not as small as you think. We always check with people. We always check, and if they sort of say, like, I'm a little bit claustrophobic, well, let's try one door. Let's try two doors. And 9 times out of 10, these people will say, actually, I'm okay with the doors closed. So then they sit in the chair, lie in the chair, and we recommend people close their eyes because, again, it gives you a deeper experience. Now, again, it doesn't matter if you close your eyes, because we do have one lady who keeps her eyes open because she sees all different colours. Mm-hmm. So it's entirely up to you, but definitely deeper closed eyes. And then what do you need to do? Nothing. You just sit there and enjoy the sounds and the light. So your body's absorbing the sounds, your body's absorbing the light in a 360-degree experience. And quite often people say that they can feel the music, or the chair's rocking. The chair doesn't rock, mm-hmm. but your body inside is moving because it's the octaves and the frequencies changing all the time. And then the last 10 minutes, as we say, it's silence. And what we tend to find is people say that silence is it's the best bit. I think you said the same, the 10 minutes that was mm-hmm. like, wow, that was amazing. Some people actually fall asleep the whole session and it's like, is it finished? Because they've gone so deep, they're so relaxed, because that's what their body needed. They're not used to sleeping, they're not used to relaxing, so their body's just like, we're going to just close you down for a few minutes mm-hmm. and just allow you to relax so that it can do the deep work. Once the 50 minutes is over, we ring a little bell, we open the doors, and then we check how you are. Okay, this is really important. We don't just say, right, come on, off, get out. We always make sure that that person is grounded, is actually, let's say, like back in the body in a sense, mm-hmm, yeah. so that they are consciously aware of actually coming out. Now, sometimes, again, this is why we allow this time, somebody will need to sit for 5 or 10 minutes maybe, just so that they can actually almost like feel themselves again. And at yes. that point, we bring them out, we sit them on the sofa and we give them an electrolyte. The electrolyte is very important because, again, it helps them ground and it also helps them with flushing any toxins out of the system. Yes. Okay, so it's a very simple process. And, again, we watch people, we make sure that they're ready to leave. Okay, because we don't want them driving off and they're still on somewhere up in space. Yeah. It's never happened because, we won't allow that. And with the experience that we've got, we now know, okay, that person's ready to go. And the thing is, you'll know as well. You're like, well, actually, I'm not quite, I feel a bit like wibbly. That's okay. Some people will say, like, they've got, the body's tingling. Yes. And that, again, is a almost like an indication that your body's like
like working, like
it's working. You know,
Yes.
like, you know, say like this frequency is changing, the octaves are increasing.
yeah. And what about the distance? Long
The
distance. How does
distance
it work?
is in a sense the same sort of thing. We're not having a physical conversation face to face, but we have a conversation before. We ask them what their intention is. We always send like a client form which goes through, these are the things that we suggest that you do, these are the things we suggest you don't do. If you're going to have any blood works and things, we ask them to leave it for a few days, and then we ask them to send a recent picture, so like, you know, not from like 3 years ago, because we want to work with how they are at this moment in time. We ask them for the full birth date and the full birth name, because what we're doing is we're going back to that 0 point. So when in theory there was no illness, there was nothing wrong with them, they were, you know, that in that sort of perfect state, and then that goes into the egg. I usually do a little video of like, you know, they're in the egg, these are the lights, this is the music, close the doors, and when the session's finished, I again little video, open the doors with a picture. We take some pictures as well. Those get sent to the person, and it's very much like them being there. The only thing that we say to people is they can't drive. You know, if you're going to relax for 50 minutes, what would you do? Maybe read a book, maybe a bit of gardening, maybe something just like a little bit of light cooking, whatever. But, you know, a lot of people just lie down on the bed and either listen to a bit of music that they've got, or listen to a bit of music that that they've downloaded offline or whatever, or we can recommend music. And then just allow the process to happen. And at the end of the session, we don't usually like contact people straight away, because again, knowing what we know now about people in the session, we usually leave it like either a few hours later or the next day. And we always say to people, if you want to contact us, just message us, and we'll you know, we're there for you.
How's that even possible? I mean, living in the world we live, like everything is like, we think that everything exists because we can touch it. But how is this possible in a long distance? You treat people who lives in Europe or who lives in the United States. How do you treat them? How is this possible?
It's called quantum entanglement. Okay. In its simplest form, if you think of twins, okay, let's use the twin scenario. One twin lives in Europe, one twin lives in the States. The twin in Europe has a fall and hurts herself or hurts himself. I guarantee the person in the States will feel that. It's that connected. We're all connected. Again, it goes back to this energy thing. We're all energy. We all feel the thing. And there's been scientific studies about molecules in different parts of the world. And you know, they do something to one, and the other has the same effect over another side of the world. It's very hard to explain, but like, you know, this twin scenario is a perfect example. We know it works because people have told us. We've had people that are on the other side of the world. One lady, for example, her sinus is popped. Okay. Another gentleman who had an accident 5 years ago, who had pains in his side, the pain disappeared. Somebody else who was used to distance healing from other modalities was having a journey of like dealing with things and like, you know, unraveling stuff for 10 days and was absolutely amazed. So we know that works. When there was the fires in Hawaii, they call us guardians. So the guardians put a picture of Hawaii into the egg. We played a specific bit of music with a specific intention. And people around there actually told us that the frequency of that land, the feeling of the area completely changed. So we know that it works. Whether you can, you know, prove it scientifically or not, I don't know. But like from experiences that people are telling us, because these are not our stories, these are people, you know, far around the world, and these are the things that they're telling us.
Okay, how many sessions do a person needs?
You know, there's, again, no one size fits all. We always say have one session and then see from there. 3 to 5 is recommended. If something's more serious, then it's usually like 10 or more. So if somebody's going through treatment of something, or say they want, like weight loss, or they want to deal with a specific problem that they've got that's deep-seated and has been, like, it's a chronic condition, then 10 or more sessions are advisable.
So all these benefits, how long do they last?
A very difficult question to ask, because everybody's different, you know. People can get a beneficial result immediately, or maybe it takes a few days. But as far as how long does it last, depends on what we're dealing with. Sometimes it may take, you know, it may be 3 or 4 days, sometimes it's a week. But the more sessions that somebody does, the longer that benefit is, until there's a stage where actually whatever was an issue from before is no longer there. And then that's when we recommend maintenance programs. So a maintenance like once a month or once every 2 weeks or whatever, in order to keep that frequency high, to keep those octaves as high as they can be. Okay, so everybody's different, you know, like we talked before about somebody who has arthritis, who has 4 days free of arthritis, and then they need a top up. But that's because they're not doing regular sessions. That's because it's like once every 6 months. You know, but everybody responds differently. I cannot tell you how much time or how long it's going to be effective for you, but your own experience is like, this monkey mind is gone, and what was it, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
So, you know, there's your personal experience.
Yes, that was amazing. I want to talk about my experience a little bit more, but maybe later, because what I felt was just insane. I felt like effervescent. If is that a right word to say? Like I was bubbly.
Yeah.
And that was really amazing. And could you compare this session and this treatment with something else out there? Is there something like this?
No. What, you know, like, okay, so you've got something like the let's just think, that flotation tank. So flotation tank, you know, it's sensory deprivation. You're lying in a tank. But the thing is, with those sorts of things, is like you're also picking up other people's energy. Whoever's been in there before, you're picking that up. When you're in the egg, it's completely different. You are not, whoever's been in there before, there's like a self-cleaning program in a sense. So we put the white light on and that clears, and obviously we also do like sage and other incense. But it's very much about it's an individual experience. Whatever is in there is your own essence. Now, what is also interesting for us is sometimes when people come out, there's a smell. So there might be like a metallic smell that comes up. And again, that's the body cleansing and clearing. Okay. But like, you know, by the time the next person comes in, that's all been cleared away. There are very many holistic things out there, okay, but a lot of the things, they do something to you. Maybe it's like a flashing light, maybe it's like electricity that's pulsing towards you, and a lot of people don't like that. You know, even like an ayahuasca ceremony where you purge and you go through, like, you know, something like a complete journey, we don't do anything like that. This is gentle in a sense, but you can still get the same experience. We were once told by a local plant medicine guy, a guru who's been doing it for many, many years, this is like having ayahuasca without the ayahuasca or the side effects. That's how deep you can go with this. So you don't need to have that purging, that experience with all this smoking stuff.
It's traumatic for some people.
Absolutely. This, you know, you can have the same effect in there without the trauma, without the grandmother giving you the things, you know, like, and that will continue. Again, it depends on your own experience, but you don't need drugs, you don't need flashing lights, you don't need anything. This is non-invasive, this is gentle, this is something for your soul as well as your whole body.
Yeah. So I want to talk about your journey. How do you get all the way here? Because I think like every person who's seeking the well-being of others had their own experience, you know, like maybe mystical, like maybe a call. I think people who works for the being of other people, for the good for other people, they had experienced something. What was your journey? Tell us about your journey.
Wow. Long journey. it started off when I was young. We used to have an oak tree in our garden, and a friend of ours used to tell stories about fairies, but I used to see them. So I could actually see what he was talking about. And it's like, okay. And I thought that was normal. And I grew up all my life thinking that was normal. And apparently it's not, you know. But then I learned about tarot cards. And I started to read tarot cards for people. And I used to do shows. I got into numerology. So I actually added the numerology into the tarot cards. And I used to use both to give people readings. I did mediumship at one stage, which was just, again, a flippant comment like, oh, I fancy doing that. And I did it, and they put me in an advanced class, which was like, okay. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And again, I took that to the shows. But all my life, I've been playing with colours. So I ended up with a blend of tarot, numerology, and colours. And I used to give readings about people, like healing readings, with just colours and like what they were wearing. I could actually explain somebody who they were, what their essence was, just by what they were wearing. And I used to give recommendations. Actually, you need this colour and that colour, which was completely bizarre. I've done Reiki on and off all my life. I did something called Blue E, which was another healing modality. So all the way through my life, I've been drawn towards service, in a sense, in order to help people. It's never been about me. It's just been about, I really fancy doing that. And I absolutely loved it. And so when the egg came up, it was always our vision to have a healing centre. The egg wasn't on that. The egg wasn't even on my mind. And then, you know, there's the story of the egg, that the guy drew the egg and it turned into a reality 14 years later. So it's been something that I'm obviously been destined to do. And all that experience has got me to where I am now.
So what do you think your purpose in life is?
To help, to heal, to show people, open up possibilities, to allow them to come out of this fight or flight into calm, into peace, and just to be heard. I think that's the most important, is to be heard, to be seen. So he sees me, he hears me, he understands me. And then from that, you can start to understand yourself.
Wow, that's amazing. That's so beautiful. And you know, the thing that I think it's the most beautiful is that we all can do it.
Absolutely.
It's within us. And you don't have to go and seek a forest or a witch, or the magic is within us.
People look up to these gurus, okay? But actually, when it comes down to the pure essence, it's here. It's inside you. It's just, you've just got to find it. And yeah, okay, you may need to seek advice. You may need to learn some things along the way. But it always comes back to self. It always comes back to what you know. And one of the things that the egg can help with, when you're in that stillness, when you're in that silence, is it brings everything back to you. And that's when you start to get the revelations. That's when you start to connect the dots. That's when things will start to unravel. When you allow yourself to open, when you allow things to come into your life, when you allow possibilities. But if you're constantly in this fight or flight all the way through your life, that ain't going to happen. So allow yourself to sit back, allow the silence, allow that time where you can actually think, where you can create, where you're open to what's available to you. But unless you go in that silence, unless you find that stillness and start to help heal or help to open yourself up to the possibilities, it's not going to happen. So allow us to help you on that journey and see what's possible.
And it only takes 1 hour of your time.
1 hour. 1 hour. What's an hour? How many times do we allow ourselves an hour, 50 minutes, where no distractions, no TV, no phone, no nothing, sat in silence, but also with gentle music? Like, you know, it's like a meditation without meditating. It's like going home without going home. It's about just opening up that possibilities, seeing, feeling, sensing everything around you. You know, it's like, what's next? What can I do? How can I use this information to take me on that next step?
It's like going back to the source.
Absolutely.
For me, I want to talk about a little bit of my experience. I went in. I was with a headache that day, I remember.
Sure.
I was like all stressed out and anxious, and I had a big headache. So I went into the capsule, to the chamber. And I'm a claustrophobic person. And I remember you said, do you want me to close the door? And I was like, yeah, I felt so comfortable from the beginning. So I went in, I sat down, and my arms started to tingle because my anxiety is always in my arms, always. I have like this ants running through my arms. So I felt something like that, and then I just told myself, like, relaxed. This is good for you. Close your eyes. Everything's gonna be okay. And after a few minutes, I started feeling myself like I was floating, like I was missing parts of my arms and my legs, like sort of an effervescent pill, like an Alka-Seltzer. You know what I mean? Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So I became the whole space. I didn't feel my body anymore. I was just energy floating, but always in a good way. I never felt anxious or scared. It was just like I returned home, like you said before. Like I was going back home, and I felt really, really good. And then when I woke up, when I returned to the physical space, I remember like I was like little by little coming back to my body, and it felt like really, really good. And at that point, my monkey head stopped.
But like you remember you say then about you came back into your body. We allowed you that time because I could see she's not ready to come out yet.
Yes.
It
took me like 2-3 minutes, probably it was a short period of time. But yes, I was like, I wanted more. I didn't want to go. I wanted more and more because it felt so good. And that night I slept. I had energy. I remember getting back home and I started like doing some chores like folding clothes and fixing stuff. And I went to bed like probably 1 a.m. But I slept really good. And from that day, my clarity, my energy, like everything started to change. I was used to be all anxious all the time, like nervous, like always like agitated. And from that day on, I just felt amazing.
I'm glad you say that. What's really interesting is some of the experiences that we've had with people. So people that are claustrophobic don't seem to be claustrophobic when they're in there. But the other thing that's really intriguing for me is that people that have been highly stressed or highly stressful, so that would react to certain situations in the past, now react to things completely different. So something that may have agitated them before or may have triggered them, they just go like, that's okay. And it just rolls away, and it's like, how's that possible? Like one session.
Yeah.
Because your body is actually in a space, in a more safe space, in a calmer stasis. It's, like this is your new normal, and this is what we try and create. And okay, it may not always happen straight away, but it will happen. And, like the more you allow it and the more you're open to it, in a sense, it's it just unfolds.
That's like you're going back to the beginning of your life, like when you were a baby, probably you were pure and everything was fine. That's the kind of feeling that I got. So I think it's really amazing, and I think everybody should allow themselves to try this at least once, because it's going to change your life for
absolutely. Sure. I mean, like let's talk about other experiences. Let's talk about other things that we've seen that have just amazed us. So the most vivid in the last few months that we've had is a young lady who is quite happy, quite bubbly, quite spiritual in a sense, and she went in there. We set the intention, and then we could hear like the chair moving in the egg, and it's like, okay, what's going on? It's like, what, is something wrong? Does she need to come out? And when I open the doors, she's upside down. She's got a head where people's feet are and her feet in the ceiling. And at first I was horrified. I'm like, like, you know, she's going to break the chair or whatever. You know, it was just like, what's she doing? And then she turned around and she was like, she was smiling. She said, I feel like I've been reborn. Okay, it didn't make any sense. And she sat down and she said, I was born by cesarean section. So I've never had a full birthing experience. And she said, when I was inside, I felt I had to be reborn. And she said, so I had to have my head downwards on the chair. She said, I felt like I was going through the birthing process and my mother's womb. And she said, and now I've been reborn. She said, I feel a completely different person. I mean, how wild is that? I mean, I will never, ever forget that. We've had another couple of experiences again recently. A lady who's just given birth and has been holding her pain in her hips. And she had one session and she's actually came out and she was like wiggling about. She said the pain's gone, the stress that she'd kept has gone in her hips. And even her husband, I'm fascinated by the men, that how they react to this. His stress, he carried his stress in his throat. And he was constantly touching his throat. And after he had the session, he had his drink and he couldn't understand why he couldn't feel anything. It's like, I can't feel the drink going down my throat. It's like, yeah, because that's normal. So he was sat there and he's like, but I can't feel anything. Before I could feel that my throat and it would crack like my back. And I'm like, but that's because of the stress. And now he's like, he just drinks normally and he can talk. And his wife said to him, you look different. Now that's just 3 stories of 3 different people who didn't know what to expect, who were open to, yeah, we'll give it a go. Sciencey, non-science, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
So everybody has a different experiences, even me. You know, you and I can have the same
music and light.
The same light, the same intention, everything. And I guarantee we'll have a different experience.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I recommend everybody to try this.
Absolutely.
Because if you're curious, just go and do it. If you have something you want to change, just go and do it. If you just want to feel a different experience, just do it. If you want to sleep for 1 hour without interruption, just go and do it. You have to try this. I'm really amazed by how I feel and what I experience. So I recommend highly to people to try this at least once in their life. Please, either if you live here or you